There's loads of things that have happened where people go, oh, that's weird. That goes to show that we've been around before, or
no, it doesn't. There's none. I have no evidence for that.
Well, I told you that time when it happened to me when I was younger.
Go on.
Your life flashed before your eyes.
Well, it wasn't like a flashback, but it was close. It's the next thing next to flashbacks. It was I was having a bath, right, and my mum had like run the bath and that, and she said, "Is that too warm?" And I said something like, "No, it's all right. It's a lot better than when I used to have a bath in that wooden bath in front of the fire."
Okay.
And she was like, "What?" And I said, "You know, it happened years ago." And she was a bit like, "Oh." And I can't remember that now, but she talks about it, and you know that just goes to show that, because I was at an age when I wouldn't have known about wooden baths years ago in front of fires.
No, but you talk rubbish now. So all you were doing, you were talking rubbish from an early age. Where's the problem?
No, but you can only talk rubbish if you're aware of knowledge.
Well,
I didn't know about wooden baths, so why would I have invented
But Carl,
that?
we've only got your mother's word on this, and she thought you might one day be a doctor.
Yeah.
So
she put a rock with a feather on it to keep a parrot company.
lest we forget.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Well, it's all bollocks.
So have you researched this? You've tried to find out when little Karl Mark I and his wooden bath when he was
No,
around?
I don't want to go there, because that's when you start digging out all sorts of trouble,
rubbish. It's rubbish.
No, it's not rubbish.
Well, it is rubbish.
What sort of stuff might
There's
you
no
discover?
scientific evidence.
No, just like I've said about family trees and that, don't be looking at them, because you're only going to find stuff you don't really want to know about. It's the same as that, innit? Leave it, let it be. Do you know what I mean? If your granddad was Einstein, you'd know about it because your family would be shouting about it. If he was a bad un, you go, oh, keep that quiet. So don't look at family trees, and it's the same. Don't be looking back in your past lives, because
no
God knows
past
what you've been up to. Well,
Karl and the wooden bath. Proof. If
Karl
proof we needed.
Pilkington, live on air, talking shit again.
There was one.
There we go.
There was one about a woman whose husband died, and she had him cremated.
Yeah.
And made like a little egg timer out of him.
Right.
And she said, I did that so it can still help around the kitchen.
Well, that might be true. That might be a joke.
That's quite sweet.
That might be
That
true.
is a true story, again. It was all
No, not
related-
again, because the ones I just told weren't. Nor is the boiling the brains in a bag curry microwave.
Head story. True.
Yeah. They're too convenient.
Will you be buried or cremated?
What?
Will you be buried or cremated?
I don't know. By cremated.
there was a thing on about Dracula,
Right. What, Dracula?
and I found a flaw in it.
Go on.
Not the fact that he's the living dead and
No.
drinks blood to stay alive and he doesn't reflect.
And he can
in
turn into a
mirrors.
bat.
Well,
And you can go on.
the mirror thing, you can't look in mirrors, can he?
Well, he can look in mirrors, but he can't see himself in a mirror.
Yeah.
That still doesn't work.
Go
Okay,
on.
go on.
It doesn't work at all, Carl. It doesn't work.
Come
anyway.
on. No.
Well,
Centre parting's always really neat.
His centre parting's always really
how
neat.
does he do it if he can't look in the mirror?
Blood on the floor or something it was called. Rubbish.
I love the flaw in the Dracula film is that his centre parting's too neat. How did he do it without a mirror? Ah.
Was it a documentary about Dracula?
No,
Yeah,
it was
the real
it's
Dracula. The real
called-
Dracula. bit.
Yeah, the real Dracula, the
It's
true
just a
story.
film. It had blood on the floor or something. It's called.
Yeah.
It's rubbish. From 1970.
Yeah.
Right, but you
know-
say that and watch that.
You know there aren't
Yeah,
really
that's right.
vampires in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it still annoys you that his centre parting was too neat.
Well, if you're going to do it, do you know what I mean?
I'd like to see him with a fringe sort of pushed forward
Mm.
and maybe a hood up. All right. Come to stop your blood and that. All right.
Yeah, just bits of tissue paper all over his face where he's cut himself shaving.
Oh, can't see it. Bloody mirrors annoying me now, innit? I'd love to see that. A little mank Drac. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Well, that might be a film that we do in our movie.
Mancula.
Just getting onto that.
Mancula. Count Mancula. Alright? You got any rave? You got any rave music, huh? Huh? Got any Oasis or that? That'd be brilliant. He came from Manchester. Please welcome Mancula. Alright? That'd be great, wouldn't it? His hair's a mess. Well, I can't see a mirror, can I? You saw something about the Bermuda Triangle, didn't you? That
Yeah, when I talked about ghosts, you sort of just, because you don't believe in it. Well, I think it's because you're scared of it, to be honest, and you can't admit to understanding it and
Sure.
actually believing in it.
Sure.
Thing on last night, Steve,
Yes.
Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know much about that?
Mainly the, song
Yeah.
by, what was his name?
What's his name?
Bermuda Triangle, where people disappear.
No,
Bermuda Triangle.
What's his name? No, Barry Manilow.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the lyrics? Bermuda Triangle, where people disappear. Bermuda Triangle, don't go near.
Yeah.
I shouldn't really make a joke out of it.
No, you're right. Go on.
But what it is, right? There's a program saying what it's about. What do you know about it?
As I say, mainly from what Barry's told me, but certainly planes and various boats have gone missing within the Bermuda Triangle.
Planes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously that documentary didn't explore
He
it.
learned a lot about that. I learned a lot about American history through "We Didn't Start the Fire" by Billy Joel.
Again, most of my knowledge of the sort of Tsarist Russia comes from
Rasputin by Boney M.
Well, listen.
Yeah, he was the lover of the Russian queen.
They put some poison into his wine.
Yeah, yeah. They shot him till he was dead.
Yeah.
Which is, go on.
Right, well, this,
those Russians.
Sort of bit of an earthquake in the sea.
Sure.
Lets out methane gas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And apparently, if you were swimming out in the sea,
Yeah.
and there was like an earthquake and some methane came out, you can't swim in it, you just sink.
Okay.
Even if you're a good swimmer.
What happens if you're two lads from your school and they
big heads.
Yeah, that's like a buoy.
Doesn't
So you can
work.
see them a mile off,
No,
and their webbed hands would get them into shore.
Because they did actually say, even if you're wearing a life jacket, if the water's full of methane, right?
You just
methane,
sink.
You just sink. So what it's saying is, boats have gone across the sea, got a load of methane in the sea, and the boat just sinks.
Right. What about the planes?
Is it them sort of planes with little sort of floaty things
Could
on?
be.
That'll be the sort they've landed in the sea.
Right.
And methane's coming.
Well, sorry, Carl. What did the documentary say? Not I imagine.
Yeah, your hypothesis might be one
Yeah.
thing.
What did they say on the
They
documentary?
didn't cover that bit. They didn't
cover
do
the planes.
They didn't do the planes.
Something else they said about it though.
Go on.
Loch Ness, the monster,
Sure.
probably doesn't exist.
Okay.
What it is,
Interesting. Hold on. Interesting. Oh, interesting.
Is-
What they thought the Loch Ness probably didn't exist.
Curious viewpoint.
Hold on. What proof have they got for that, Carl? How can they go around saying stupid things like that?
it's methane,
Right.
Again, in Loch Ness.
and people have seen. What's the lake it's in?
Loch
Loch Ness.
Yeah.
It being the Loch Ness monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where it lives. That's how it finds its way home.
That's
You're
certainly the
never
clue.
gonna learn.
Yeah,
If you get again, Carl,
yeah,
that's the clue.
Yeah, if you go, and if it's wondering, it goes, excuse me, would you know where I'm being the Loch Ness monster? Where would I be going? Oh, you'd be going to the Loch Ness if that's your home. It's away over there, you
So
big
anyway,
monster, you.
So the bubbles from the
Sure.
methane bubble up out of the water.
Yeah.
People think, oh god, it's a monster's head. But it's not, it's just water sort of shooting up because of the bubbles.
Well, that's two of the great mysteries of the universe solved by Karl P on a Saturday afternoon.
That is
Right.
fantastic. So that makes me think a lot of things. So when mediums are sort of like going, oh, I've got something coming through. Do you think they are exhaling a lot of methane gas, and thus making them not think straight? Do you think everything's down to methane gas? Do you think that all the mysteries of the universe are down to methane gas, Carl? What did it say in the documentary you saw?
About what?
What was the budgie happy? We know that budgie was sad. Was it in a room? Because they used to take canaries down the mines, didn't they? They used to take canaries down the mines, they'd smell the methane, and then the budgie would be happy.
I'm not going to teach you anymore.
Play record.
Absolutely, as always.
Oh, excuse me, and don't be alarmed. I look quite frightening, but I'm merely a nice monster. I seem to have lost my way home. Could you direct me in the right direction?
Nice to meet you, yeah, Karl Pilkington.
Hi.
What's your name?
Why do you need to know my name?
Well, it might help me to find out where you come from.
Oh, my name's the Loch Ness Monster.
Okay, alright, give me a second. What was your name again?
Loch Ness Monster.
See, this is what I mean. When you came in, you're all over me. Like a rash.
Being nice to you.
Yeah. Gets towards the end.
It's just that the death thing, right?
Yeah.
There was an argument on there about, do you know that Twilight Zone or whatever it was, Tales of the Unexpected?
Oh, yeah.
Where the woman got buried alive.
Yeah.
They were saying how, like, years ago, they bury people thinking they're dead,
Yeah.
and they've recently, like, dug coffins up, and then the people who were in the coffin weren't dead, they might have just been, like, in some sort of deep sleep or whatever.
Catatonic.
And they've lifted the lid off,
Yeah.
and there's scratch marks
Yeah.
on the thing,
Yeah.
and that's pretty scary. And
Makes you think. I mean, I hope they check these days. See, I don't know where. I thought you'd sort of learnt a little bit, Carl. What is an interesting fact, and what might just be a mentalist online. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what point we're making here? Why the truth is so much more even a little bit, even something that's just, you know, mild, but is definitely the truth, is so much more interesting than just wish fulfillment of truth. To me, if it starts with there was this ghost, right, it's not interesting. You could say anything. There was this ghost that could turn custard into wine. It doesn't matter. There was this ghost that had 9 heads. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. There was this
you know, Carl's looking at you going, there's a ghost that can turn custard into wine.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you say after that. There's a ghost that can swallow alligators whole. The premise means it's not true to me. Do you know what I mean? It's like people say, you know what, God, right, he's incredible, I'll stop you there. The fact that you can make the earth in 7 days, well, you've lost me already. Do you know what I mean? Whereas someone says something like, you know, a cockroach can live 5 days without a head, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Right.
Do you think when you die, they say, you're a ghost, this is going to amaze you. You can go and you can spook people out.
Yeah.
Do you like custard? Come over here.
No. Well, if you don't, you don't. Do you like wine? Of course I do. Oh, you are going to love it.
You're going to love me.
You're going to love it.
I've lost all my loved ones.
Yeah. Do you see what I mean? It's what your sort of beliefs are based on. Mine are sort of on, I suppose, logic and science. And
So
but I'm
what-
amazed by the world and
So the Iceman, why does that amaze you? What's like, ooh.
well, they found some part of our preserved past. You know, it's interesting. Again, I'm amazed by anthropology and evolution.
Yeah.
Go
It's
on.
just that line on its own like that, you know, they found an Iceman is great, but then it went on, and it's going on about, you know, they've had to get different people involved to find out how old it was. Because first of all, the story started off, right, an old fellow on holiday somewhere, where did they find it, in Sweden or something? And he was walking in the hills, and...
He was walking
in the hills.
in heels. Was he a transvestite?
In the mountains.
Oh, right.
In the hills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's walking about, and he sees this body in the snow, and he thinks, oh. So he calls the police up, and they come and have a look, and he goes, oh yeah, it's probably a murder. So then they dig it up and find out he's got hold of a spear in his hand.
Right, and he's dressed like Fred Flintstone.
Right.
And they realise it's probably not a recent murder.
Right.
His knuckles are dragging on the floor. He's
Yeah.
a Neanderthal man. They
Yeah.
think, hang on, Karl Pilkington.
But when they found out, hang on, it's an old thing.
It's an old thing.
Can it? If it was a murder recent, then you'd go, hang on, how did this happen? Who does he belong to?
Yeah.
But the chances are whoever murdered him is also dead.
5,000 years ago, probably. Yeah.
So leave it. Just bury it.
I don't think it's a murder investigation.
No, but they are.
It's not Quincy going, this was before my time.
It's not a murder investigation.
Yeah, just one thing bothers me, sir. Just one final thing. My wife loves you, but this guy.
That's how they were
Why
treating
would he
it.
have a spear
Yeah.
and a leopard skin? I just can't. I can't get over this.
What are you talking about?
That's what I'm saying.
What are you saying? Right, shut up, everybody. What are you saying? You've got one chance now. You've got to ask me a question, and I will answer it the best way. But what are you saying?
I'm
What is your
saying,
question?
Right, he probably spent a load of money.
That's
trying
not
to
a
sort
question.
out-
That's not a
Yeah,
question.
but let me tell you what I'm saying, right? They're probably spending a load of money finding out stuff about this fella who died. And even if he wasn't murdered, he'd be dead by now anyway. So get over it, right? 3,000 years ago, he died, right? So then they start messing about with it, saying, well, how did he die? Well, it doesn't matter. It was ages ago. Then they start digging his belly open, seeing last meal that he ate.
Yeah.
Oh, he ate seeds and leaves. Well, no surprise, really. There's now else around. Again, spending more money. Someone's been paid money to sort that out. Then they bury him, and then said, hang on a minute, are you sure that he died by, like, a spear? Let's dig him up again. So they dig him up again, and find some splinter or
Sorry,
something.
I don't believe they buried him.
They did. Well, in some sort of fancy coffin so everyone can see him. But for me, that is more wasteful than sorting out something that's, you know, like someone who's ill. Sort something out, you know.
Sorry, it's not either or. They didn't pull a doctor out of surgery.
Exactly. It's
working-
not an old man in a bed in a corridor somewhere.
Yeah, they
going,
go, Ted, what are you doing?
stomach."
I'm just giving this bloke a stat clear. No, look, we found an old fella in a skit. Okay, okay, you
Yeah.
take over. It's not either or, Carl. What are you talking about? It's scientific research.
But don't you see why this is fascinating? It gives us an insight into how we lived 3,000, 5,000 years ago. That's an incredible historical document.
What if it was your equivalent? What if it was like the Karl of the time, and there's people, you know, ghosts now through there going, oh God, you don't believe, I don't believe it, they've dug up Karl. They think we're all like that. Oh no, they're going into his brain now. They're looking at how his brain works. We're going to get such a bad rep. Oh
well,
dear.
Each to their own. If you like it, I just thought it was a bit of a
waste of money.
a little bit of a waste.
Yeah. Okay.
But there you go. Anyway, we'll give out the answers to Rockbusters next.
If we must.
Yeah.
It sometimes stuns me. Sometimes I'm taken aback. Do you know what I mean?
But what worries me is if one day aliens do visit.
I'd love
and
that.
they come down, yeah. But what worries me is they might bump in. What if they bump into you? What if they bump into you and they think that you represent mankind?
And they go up and they start another planet.
They're gonna they say, we'll ask you 3 questions, and if you answer them correctly.
Do you know what he said to me the other day? This is unbelievable. This is one of the most stupid, incredible things I've ever heard. He was talking, and he suddenly stopped, and he was thinking about it, and he went, oh, I went, what? He went, you'd never see a black ghost.
Extraordinary.
True, though, isn't it?
I've never seen a ghost, full stop.
There are no ghosts. There aren't ghosts.
No, what I mean when you just see them in, like, magazines and that.
Play a record!
There's a shadow somewhere.
It's already good, isn't it?
I'm loving it already.
No, right, there's a shadow, I think it was in America.
Yeah.
And it's on a quiet road. I'm guessing somewhere like Boston, that's what I imagine.
Okay,
Right?
no.
Somewhere like Boston, and people at night used to see this shadow moving about, and they'd go, what's that? Right? And it got known, the town, the little local town got known for this shadow, but it didn't cause any problems. People
What are you talking about?
Well, it was
Just
like,
you've lost me.
What are you talking
no,
about?
do you know, like, some places get famous, like, Scotland's got the Loch Ness Monster and that, but it doesn't cause any, but it doesn't cause any problems.
Doesn't exist, go on.
Right? So there's this shadow walking about on the road. And,
What do you mean? No, what's he, again? Rubbish.
right, so it's walking
Nonsense.
about,
Where did you read this? Where did you
it's
see
walking
this?
about, this was on the internet, and I'm
Oh,
sure...
sorry! Sorry! I thought it was shite. I didn't know it was on the internet.
Right, so this shadow is moving about, and,
Independently of an object.
yeah, and the local mayor and that is like, yeah, it's a bit weird, but it's not harming anyone.
The mayor involved!
Was he elected to that post?
Hey, mayor, we got a problem down here. Seems like a shadow. Well, it's not causing any. No, it's
Is
just
it causing any problems?
Yeah, go on.
But that's the thing, it was left for years, and then it did start causing problems.
I see, that's it. If you leave these shadows to go unchecked, Rick, they go crazy.
Yeah.
You let them run amok in the city.
Yeah.
You've got to stand
What
down
did it do?
on
What did it
Roman
do?
shadows.
What did the shadow do?
It was pushing people off the bikes.
It was what?
It was pushing people off the bikes.
Oh,
I'll find out more for that next week. Right, that'll tease
oh,
them.
you're a maniac!
We'll do more on that. We haven't had time for educating.
Please never have children.
Right, listen.
You are
Just promise me now you'll never have kids.
I was in St Ives, and just, you know, it was a nice day and that. There was no telly in the place. It was a horrible house. It was haunted.
Well,
Actually, no, honestly.
no, not honestly. It wasn't haunted. There's no such thing as ghosts. So,
the
you saying honestly it was haunted means fuck all.
It's the weirdest place and weirdest sensation I've ever had. I spoke to a woman called Mrs. Battersby,
Right.
who sat on my bed keeping me up all night. My mum came up, she said, you look shattered. I said, yeah, I haven't had a kiss all night. She said, why? I said, I've been talking to Mrs. Battersby. She said, who's that? I said, no, some old woman. Now, I can't remember it now, but that's what I did then. And then,
Sorry, so Mrs. Battersby didn't exist, is that what you're saying? She was the ghost?
yeah.
Wasn't the landlady?
No, there's no landlady. It's a big house, about 12 bedrooms in it.
Right.
Dead cheap to stay there because it was a wreck. My
Were
mum
you
and dad
ill?
went out
Were you
one
ill?
night.
Did you have flu at the
No,
time?
I had nothing like that. I just...
So you were sitting up, but you were awake, and you were having a conversation with Mrs. Battersby.
What did she look like?
I can't remember. I can't even remember having the chat now.
Right,
But
so-
at the time, I was like, oh, she just doesn't shut up. Chatting all night.
So you don't remember this happening? Or you do remember it happening?
No, I remember that, like, if I see my mum now and I mention St. Ives, she'll go, oh yeah, Mrs. Battersby. She remembers coming in, because she was older than me, wasn't she? So, to
Who?
her, my mum.
Was she?
Yeah.
How old was Mrs. Battersby? She was older than both
She
of you.
was old because I'm calling her Mrs. Battersby. If she was my age, I'd probably say, oh, it's Susan or whatever.
Right, sure,
You
Miss
call older
Miss
people
Battersby.
by the surname, don't you?
Yeah.
Anyway, so she kept me
How
up
old
all
were you?
night. Don't know, I'm thinking of pictures at the wedding.
Why do you have to go through other things to just have a memory?
How old do you reckon you were?
I don't understand why you haven't got direct access to your memories.
How old do you reckon you were?
Your mum was older though, yeah?
You must have a vague idea of when this event
thinking
was.
about it now, I'm thinking. I'm
Okay.
picturing the picture of myself at this wedding.
Okay.
And how old are you? What are you doing?
How tall were
I'd say I
you?
look about...
How were you?
I'd say I look about 7 or 8, looking at the picture.
Right, okay. Right, okay.
So Mrs. Battersby is chatting away to you. You don't remember what she said, but you do remember having the conversation.
No, he doesn't remember it
I
at
don't
all.
remember the chat now.
Well then
So-
why are you telling us? You
not
must
your
remember it
memory.
because you're telling us about
It's not
it.
your
Because it's a
memory.
memory, my mum's reminded me of it.
Yeah, but all it says is, this is so far removed. This is hearsay that your mum said you spoke to a ghost once, and you don't even remember the ghost.
Mrs. Battersby.
No,
Yeah,
you
no, but you
remember the
don't
name,
remember
no, because
her.
your mum reminded you of
In a
it.
court of law, if there was a ghost court, they go hearsay, thrown out of court.
Right.
You don't have a memory of Mrs.
No,
Battersby.
look, I know that when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I ate a beetle. I ate a beetle because I thought it was licorice. Now, I can't remember that now.
You can't remember that, but you know it happened because your mother told you it happened.
Exactly.
Right. But the fundamental thing is that we can believe we can believe you ate a beetle, right? Because that is something that could happen in real life.
But-
what we're questioning is that you spoke to a ghost.
What sort of beetle was it?
Just one of them standard beetles, just a little black shiny one.
Thing is, right, a couple of years ago, we were in the Ivy, and the food came, and there's a big blob of wasabi, right? It was like called an Oriental hors d'oeuvre, right? And I looked over at Carl, and he started going, drinking water. I said, what have you done? He said, I heard that. I said, that was a blob of wasabi. He said, I thought it was one mushy pea.
That's a classy restaurant where they're serving one mushy pea.
Well, they do that, don't they?
Wow.
Small portions. It's all trendy, isn't it?
Yeah, I love the fact that it's exactly the same thing. But they've swapped beetle for wasabi
Yeah.
and licorice for pea. You see things, you see something, you
It's a
think...
good job you remembered that anecdote though, because he doesn't.
Exactly, yeah. In years to come, we'll be going, ate some wasabi once. Did you?
Yeah.
Well, according to Ricky, I did, yeah. I was in the Ivy. I thought it were mushy pea. Huh?
So hang on, I just want to go back to Mrs. Battersby because
What
you
other-
confidently said it was
haunted.
haunted, so it's haunted place.
Yeah.
But you've got no evidence for it because even you claim you had this encounter, you don't even remember it.
But you don't remember everything in life,
But you
do you?
supposedly had a conversation with a ghost.
I know, but I didn't know. When I was younger, I
But you
didn't think that
remember the
was a
specifics
ghost.
of an ant walking around.
Yeah, so you thought, so I see. If you'd have had the memory, it would just be a nice old lady on the end of your bed all night.
Right.
And then...
Then, when I mentioned it, my mum was saying, what do you mean, Mrs. Battersby? Who's Mrs. Battersby?
right?
When you're a kid, you're not terrified, are you?
No.
Nothing scares
I mean,
you.
I'm beginning to think who the fuck is Mrs. Battersby, I must admit. But
So, yeah, that was, but it was a weird place. I mean, there was no telly. All they had for sort of company was a calculator.
you are the strangest little man that's ever lived. Company.
No.
There goes Carl with his friend. What's his friend? Oh, it's a little...
It's a Sanyo 4197G.
I love that. That's amazing.
Oh, calculator, do that boobs thing again.
My mum and dad used to go out. I
Memories.
stayed in there.
Just shots of him with his calculator on the beach. Like that. It's sunlit. Maybe beautiful and the
4
air.
plus 16, what will it be?
My only friend. What was that one you told me and it was completely wrong? About the...
It was, oh yeah, right, it's years ago.
Oh yeah.
Some
In olden days,
Oh, sure.
when
Some
ghosts roamed the earth.
Once
Go
upon
on.
a time, you mean?
Yeah.
some doctor or something who was into like the way bodies work. They got their head cut off.
Who did? The
And-
doctor?
Yeah, he was doing a bit of an experiment.
And he cut his own head off.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it was about. He said, "When my head's in the basket, I'm gonna blink my eyes."
Right.
Okay, sorry, hang on, let him finish.
And
So the doctor has chopped his own head off, and he's told everyone, I'm going to blink my eyes to
No,
prove
wait.
that
he's
there's
in the
life after
basket,
death.
and he goes like, "Right, I'm gonna blink my eyes about, as many times as I can. So quick, count them." And they count, and he got to like 15 before he
Right.
died.
Now this is how Carl told me that. Till Nick Frost explained that, Carl told me, he said, right, well a bloke, right, he had his head cut off, and when his head was in the basket, he went, count how many times I can blink. And I went, well that's rubbish. He went, no, and Nick went, well no, he actually said, when my head's in the basket. He went, and Carl went, alright. I said, Carl, do you know the subtle difference? Do you see the subtle difference?
I have to say though, guys, I still don't really understand what went on there. You've both lost me.
The story is that a bloke who'd been found doing,
You mean that Carl just explained it and that was a clear version? Because I still don't know what you're talking about, Carl.
Well, this bloke had his head cut off for experiments against God. He was a doctor in the, in olden times.
Yeah.
And when they cut his head off.
Why did they cut his head off?
Because it was,
he was executed.
Crimes against, exactly, he was executed, yeah. And, he said to his assistant, when my head's in the basket, I'm gonna blink, count how many times I blink and write it down as an experiment, right? Carl told it to me, like, his head was cut off and he went in the basket, and when his head was in the basket, he looked up and said, count how many times I blink. Yeah. I love that. I love the difference in that story.
Yeah.
Both rubbish,
Yeah.
but, you know, one's possible and one isn't.
You believe anything that you're told, except when we tell you the truth.
Right,
Yeah.
here's one.
Christ.
Ghosts and that we got talking about.
Sure.
And Nick said, right, he said, you'll like this one. He said, my auntie, was having loads of problems.
Why are you whispering? It's not illegal to talk about ghosts on the radio.
No, but
It's eerie, this.
so, the auntie's in the house and that, and, furniture's moving about all the time.
Oh, God.
And they were like, no, this is
Steve, you told me this one. This is such rubbish, mate.
No, come on,
I'm
let's
gonna
listen.
I'm gonna leave it to you. I'm gonna sit back and enjoy it. I'm just gonna watch your face, Steve.
right.
Sorry, so
they
I missed
said,
the beginning there, Carl. There's an auntie in the house.
basically, Nick's auntie,
Right.
in the house, things moving around all the time, and it was just annoying every time she tidied up. It was like,
It was just annoying.
making a mess.
It was one part annoying to two parts scary.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
stuff was moving around all the time, and they said, right, rather than
Right, we need an housekeeper.
Yeah.
rather than having the house a mess, until we sort this
Stop
out.
it! I've got the vicar coming round. Stop moving stuff around.
Oh, yeah, go on.
They said,
That shouldn't be in the pants drawer.
let's put all the furniture in one room, right? So just have one room that's a mess, and have all the others empty.
Because I love the poltergeist can't really, it can move wardrobes around, but it can't open the door to put it in another room.
Yeah.
Poltergeist going, oh, I'm just making this room messy. I wish someone would open the door so I could, go on.
Yeah, but so all this stuff's in this room.
So they
right?
moved all their furniture into
everything.
one
They
room.
put like the drawers in there and everything, and it was really uncomfortable because they were all like on top of each
They
other.
sat in the room with all the stuff.
Yeah, they had to because that's where the three-piece suite was.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Right.
All right.
Oh, God.
So they sat there, like, all crumpled up and that, but nothing can move because it's so tight.
Yeah.
I think things were trying to move.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
everything
yeah.
was so tight. It's
They
just like,
foxed that poltergeist.
so anyway, one night they sat there, like, sort of a bit awkward watching the telly and that, and they hear some banging
Yeah.
in the next room. So she goes, "Oh God, what's that?"
Oh, he hadn't moved in, had he, the ghost?
So
To some of the empty rooms.
so there's this
He's
bang.
moved some friends and family in.
There's this banging about going on.
No,
so
listen to this, listen to this,
she
Steve.
gets up, right,
Yeah.
and what it is, they had the baby in the next room because there wasn't much room for the cot.
Right, so they left the baby with the ghost.
So they go into the room where the baby is, and the banging
Yeah.
is like, do you know those plastic balls you get that you can chuck around the room and like they go mental?
Right.
The ones that you chuck once and they
Yeah.
keep bouncing
Yeah,
for
yeah,
ages.
yeah.
That was bouncing around the room.
Wow, what, the
hitting
baby had thrown it?
hitting all the walls, and the baby was there, stood in the cot, sort of laughing
Right.
and looking at the ball, and wherever it looked, the ball went.
Yeah.
And then she said, "Stop doing that,"
Yeah.
and the ball just stopped.
Did it?
And it rolled a bit and stopped.
Right. So the baby had thrown the ball and it was watching it as it bounced around the room.
It wasn't throwing it; it was in control of it.
No, the point is, Steve, the baby has been doing it. It's been the baby all along.
The baby had been messing with the furniture. It was
So
the
it's
baby
a
that had the
super
power. Yeah, it's the baby that had the power.
Special baby.
It's a baby that had the power. It's
What
a
power?
baby that had the power.
What-
the
what's
power
the power?
of telekinesis.
Right.
They were then trying to convince me that telekinesis was not like all the other stuff that I didn't believe in, but that was a science.
Right.
Telekinesis was possible.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not like ghosts and demons and all that sort of. Telekinesis is different.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a science.
But Nick's auntie saw it, and
I love the fact that you're telling me that someone else's auntie saw it. So I should be satisfied with that.
Yeah.
I should be satisfied with that. I mean,
So does she still live in one room with all her possessions?
no, I think
the baby grew out of it, apparently.
it grew
The
up.
baby grew out of it.
So it doesn't use its telekinesis powers
No.
anymore?
Well, no, it's
No.
like in Carrie, innit? She was upset for a bit, and then she got over it.
Okay, I'm just gonna say one thing, Carl. That was a film. Do you want to play a record or? Just tell you a story that Karl told me a couple of weeks ago.
Is this another ghost story? Another
Yeah,
spooky
it is,
story?
yeah. I called him out. What are you doing? He said, I said, I've just been reading ghost stories again. He went, he said, right, he said, you don't believe in them, but how do you explain this? Right, I went, go on. He said, I'll tell you as he told me it. He went, bloke, right, just sitting at home, doing, you know, watching telly with his cat. And, the phone rings, and it's a bloke going, is that fire, in your oven okay now? 'Cause your wife called. And Karl went, well, 1, there was no fire in the oven. 2, he wasn't married. I went, right. Go on, he went, well. Then, right, there was a knock at the door, and there was 2 sort of people in sort of white coats, and they came and said, oh, we've come about that fire. Your wife called us. He went, 1, there isn't a fire in my oven, and 2, I'm not even married. Right? And he said, and they saw the cat, and they looked at the cat, it looked a bit weird at the cat came out, nothing. He said, and then he went back, sat down, phone rings, and they said, did they sort out the fire in the oven that your wife told us about?
Oh.
He went, 1, there is no fire in my oven, 2, I haven't got a wife. And Karl went, what do you think of that? I went, that's not it. He went, yeah, I went,
That's the end of the story.
What? He went, well, how'd you explain that? I went, explain what? I thought he was going to say, a year later we got married, but she died in an oven fire. Right? I thought it was going to be that. And I went,
That's people winding him up.
yeah, or, someone did report a fire in the oven, and their name was Johnson, and they looked up Johnson, they got the wrong thing, it was the gas board, and they sent round to the wrong person, right? You know, he went, yeah, I said, I explained it to him, he went, yeah, why did they look at the cat funny?
Oh, man alive, Karl. This is really weird, right? I was in my house once, right, and the doorbell rang.
Yeah.
Right, I opened the door, there was no one there.
Yeah.
Right? And then I looked across the street,
And some
right,
kids
and there were some
running-
kids running away.
Yeah.
Now, how do you explain that?
Yeah.
There was another time, right, where, like, I opened the door and there was a bloke goes, you've ordered pizza. I went, I haven't ordered pizza. And I heard my mate upstairs giggling and putting the phone down.
Yeah. How do you explain that? Karl, seriously, why did you tell me that story? What did you think it was weird about that?
The fact that it was 3 different people.
Is this all the information? Is that the entire story?
It was 3 different people.
Did you fall
hassling
asleep
him
and not read
about
the end?
A fire that didn't happen, about a wife that didn't exist, and a cat that didn't look happy.
Oh, I'm gonna have a heart attack, Karl. What? I mean, why did they look at the cat funny?
Because cats don't like spirits, do they?
What? The other blokes were ghosts?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
So
explanation.
these are kind of beadle about type ghosts. These are ghosts who walk the earth as the undead, just winding people up slightly.
That's lovely. That is lovely.
seriously,
and a cat
Karl-
that did not look happy.
But seriously, why would ghosts wander around just like winding people up?
Oh.
Maybe something did happen there years ago. Some fire, some woman might have died in a house of a fire or something.
Yeah.
And it sort of all happened again. Bit of
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly a mystery.
I mean, if you don't
It is a mystery. I mean, I can't.
What's this book you were reading? You were reading a book, which is interesting enough.
It was the Fortean Times.
Oh, Karl.
Yeah. Well, I
Man
don't know.
alive.
I don't know what to say. Do you believe in? I think lycanthropy. Is it not called
What's that, sorry?
lycanthropy?
What's lycanthropy?
Isn't that werewolfism?
Really?
Isn't it? Do you believe in that, Karl?
They've found stuff, haven't they? They've found kids walking about who are all hairy because they've sort of grew up with wolves and that.
Yeah.
So
No. You see, 2 things there. Right. You cannot take on acquired characteristics genetically. So if you grew up with wolves, it wouldn't suddenly make you hairy.
there's been pictures, there's been stories on it, and I reckon most people have, or a lot of people have seen the stories. It's a popular thing.
You mean the kids that are born hairy?
No, there's kids who've been born hairy, right?
Yeah, that's it.
No, but listen, and they walk around on all 4s, and they drink milk from a saucer.
Steve, this is
No,
too
remember,
easy.
remember that time with the maggot in the head?
Yeah.
Getting out with bacon, and you were like laughing, and then people called up and said, "Yeah, I've seen that, I've read about that."
Yeah,
this
but
is the
have
same thing.
Have you seen an XFM listener up close? Have you ever looked?
They
studied?
drink milk from a saucer.
Yeah, they've got to be kept on leads. People who listen to this show.
There's no point me telling you about stuff.
There is. It's comedy
See,
gold.
when you were at school, did you keep arguing with the teacher saying you're talking rubbish there?
Teachers didn't teach us about werewolf boys and ghosts. They taught us maths. God, right. Tell the story about the manhole cover.
Right, in the same magazine as the one with the cat and the fire and that.
Don't tell me that story again, it gives me the shivers.
Yeah, a cat that's got a weird expression on its face is against God.
Anyway, this isn't a scary story. This was just like physics. Physics.
Yeah.
It was going on about the nuclear bomb and how powerful it is. And they put a manhole cover on top of one.
Okay.
Blew it up.
Yeah.
Never saw the manhole cover again.
Man alive, Carl. Unexplained.
What's going on there? Something weird is happening there. Oh.
If anyone has ever seen that manhole cover, please get in touch. We'd love to know where it is.
Oh, that's fantastic. What sort of experiment is that? I imagine all these scientists on multi-billion-pound research budgets, they're going, we test everything. What would you do to manhole cover? Don't know.
That's like letting a couple of students
Yeah, exactly,
have
yeah.
control of a nuclear
Do you
sub-
reckon it can
Let's
send a
put this
traffic cone
Yeah.
into orbit? Go on then, put it on there. I love that. I imagine that. What value is that? I might tell you what we could do. We could put the manhole cover on it and aim it and then blow the bomb up and the manhole cover would have someone's eye out. Fire it. See if you can fire manhole covers off the nuclear bomb. Whatever. Try bangers to a bomb. See if it's louder. Oh, God.
Right, there's this fellow, I think it happened in America, and he saw a bright light in the sky. And
God, if you're bored.
and he stood there.
This is a true story, is it?
Yeah. He stood there
Yes, of course it isn't, Steve.
and he saw this bright light and it came closer and closer and it was a UFO, right?
Yep.
And he looked at it and it disappeared, right? And he gets back in his car
He looks in the mirror.
and he looks in the mirror.
Yep.
He's only got a beard,
He has.
right?
What?
And it turned out
Yeah.
he got home and said to his wife or his girlfriend, it's a bit weird. So I just got out of the car to look at a bright light, and I got back in the car and I grew a beard, and she said, never mind your beard, where have you been for 3 days? And what had happened is,
He passed out because he was pissed.
no, the UFO had taken him for 3 days,
Yeah.
but he'd only thought that he'd only looked at it and it went away.
Yeah.
But what had happened is, he took him, and
Yeah.
he grew a beard because he hasn't had a shave.
Right, okay. I mean, was Will Smith or Tommy Lee Jones anything to do with this at all? Did you see this on a video maybe and thought it was an educational film?
No, it's from a book that some kind person sent in to me. Here.
Can I just ask again, just again, I'm just throwing this right back at you. Do you think there's any other possible answer here? Right, a man is absent for 3 days from home.
He's
the
grown a
length
beard.
of time that it could take to grow a beard, lest we forget. What if he hadn't actually seen a bright light in the sky?
What if he
he'd
was
been
lying? What if
drunk?
he was lying?
He'd got knocked unconscious, he'd had a car crash,
Just
any number
lying.
of other
No,
things.
just lying.
Or he was just lying.
Yeah, he'd been on a bender, getting pissed for 3
Yeah,
days
and that
with
was
his
his
mates.
excuse to his wife.
And they went, Dennis, what are you gonna tell your wife?
Well, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
She's not going to believe I was out with you, lads.
Just say you're only away for a minute. No, I wasn't away from it because of the beard. Oh yeah, look, it looks like you've been out for 3 days. Well, we have, that's...
Exactly.
Right, okay, we've got to cover that then. Alien abduction?
Great one.
Okay, let's try that.
Do you see? That's a little scenario there that could have been played out.
So, when you say educating Ricky, what have I learnt from this? Never listen to you again. That's all I've learnt so far. Never listen to you.
Yeah, we'll add a little bit more in here, right? To
Well,
spice this
no,
up.
what do you mean add a little bit more?
We'll add a bit more to this what I'm educating you about,
Go on.
right? There's only a law in America that says if you touch a UFO, you're going to get done. Now, why would they make a rule? I don't know that. Do you know, like all their rules have a code?
Carl, I genuinely do not know what you're talking about.
Right? Do you know, like how here they might have?
Do you know
I
what?
have no idea.
Right,
okay.
Do you know, like over
Rick,
here?
I'm listening to Capital on these headphones. I got Foxy on from yesterday.
Right, let's bin that. No. Do you know, like you don't believe in like scary stuff, just like ghosts.
No, I believe in scary stuff. I don't believe
No,
in
well,
things that
ghosts
are totally
and that.
logical. Yeah, ghosts.
vampires.
No. Anything made up by man.
Well,
anything.
there was something in the paper the other day about a vampire. How they found one. They dug something up.
It was in the paper.
And,
It's true then.
It's definitely true.
But
It's
we'll leave
definitely true
that.
then.
But we'll leave that because you're just going to do that, so it doesn't matter.
No, come on.
No,
come
go on, quickly tell us.
Come on.
You
No,
found
it's just that they found a body in a coffin
Yeah.
with a bit
weird.
of wood through its heart and a knife in its mouth. But if you don't believe it,
It was a
then what's the
vampire
point?
pirate.
Well,
It was a vampire pirate.
But that's definitely proof of a vampire then, and of course, and not some grotesque murder.
Yeah.
That's definitely proof of a
If
vampire.
it was found, if it wasn't, if it wasn't made up.
Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Hang on a
Two,
minute.
if it
As
was
far as I'm aware, when you put the thing through their heart, they just turn into dust.
and also all their victims get their own life back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the
Right,
trick.
and here was the second bit.
Yeah.
Somebody had dug it up,
Yeah.
got the heart, blended it, burnt it, popped it in some water, drank it, and they're in prison now. Now, if it wasn't dodgy stuff, why are they in prison? Why don't you
Because
just
they're
go-
mental, because they dug up a body, liquidised its heart, burnt it and drank it. That's why they're in prison.
There's your answer.
But anyway, that isn't what I'm talking about, right? But I met Derek Akora the other week,
Oh yeah.
right?
Now,
Um,
who's he? Which one's he?
He's
Is he a medium? He can contact the dead. Is that right?
he just chats to him and that, passes messages on.
Nice of him.
So I said, "Oh, tell us something a bit weird and that." So he said, "What do you want to know?" I said, "Just something weird." So he goes, "All right then." He said, "Here's one for you, right?" And he said, "There's this pub out in the country, and he said there's this mug. Do you know those old mugs that they have, where they used to like leave their own cup knocking
Like a
about, didn't they?
tankard.
Oh yeah.
Tankard thing."
Yeah.
So there was one of them mugs in there, right? And everybody
Tankard. Let's use tankard if we've
All right,
established
yeah,
that's the word.
tankard, yeah.
Because you're the only mug in this story.
Right.
You believe in it all.
High five. Great.
So this tankard's knocking about, right? And everyone who's running the pub keeps going, "Oh, I wish they'd stop leaving this tankard about," right? And they pick it up.
It must be a pain. Having a tiny, small tankard in a pub. That must be a real grind.
So every they sort of picked it up and went, "We'll have to wash that," and they popped it on a different sideboard. Next thing you know, that person who's touched it died, right?
Sure.
So
They must have been getting through bar staff.
so they kept getting in new staff and that. And they were like, "Oh, what's the connection here?" Right?
What's the connection here?
Oh God.
So anyway, so
Call Australia. We've run out.
they sort of someone notices and they go, "Do you know, it's a bit weird. It's that cup, right?" So they get
Tankard.
They get, so it's that tankard and that. So they get a vicar in.
Of course they do.
And they go, "Look, there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. This tankard, every time someone touches it, they die." So he said, "Leave it with me." He gets his special water out and what have you. He comes round, does a little prayer, sprinkles it. He goes, "Right, not a problem, don't worry about it." He picks it up, chucks it in the bin. Guess what?
What?
Dies in a crash on the way home. Because he'd picked it up.
Well, but Carl, you're telling me this like it's fact, and I'm meant to go, "That's
Derek
amazing."
Akora, he told me.
Carl, I have no opinion of that story, other than I'm pretty sure there was absolutely no connection between touching the tankard and him dying. That's all I'm sure
It's
of.
not just him though, is it?
I'm not going to even contest the chain of events. All I'm saying is there is no connection. There is no connection possible because I believe in logic and the laws of the universe. So when you're telling me miracles and strange things outside coincidence, you may as well be telling me about the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny, because they're equal to me. That it's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous.
So what would it take though for you to go, "Oh, I'm actually a believer now"?
But what you're saying is you're I can't answer that question because I'd have to base my beliefs on some of your premises, which I can't do. It's like you saying, "But what if you found out that 2 and 2 equaled 5?" I can't. It's a necessary truth that it doesn't. I'd have to go back and fundamentally disagree with what I think twoism is, two-ness and fiveness.
And you've never been in a situation though where you've gone, "This room feels a bit weird." Could be something, do you know what I mean? Could be something knocking about, or.
But that's a different question. I could go into a really rough-looking pub and think this isn't good because it's
No,
based
like
on induction then.
I
Because
mean, like, you know, if you've been to Cornwall on holiday and stayed somewhere and you've gone, "Do you know what? Sure, so much died in here."
I'm sure so much died everywhere.
Yeah, but what I mean, you never pick up a vibe of like I've got a mate, right, who is living in this big stately home, right, and what it
Why is he living there?
he's paying £100 a month, right, and it's almost like he's being a security man.
All right.
But he's not. He doesn't sit out the door with that on and everything. He just goes about his life, but he bases most of his work in this stately home.
So what is it, like a
housekeeper, like he's sort of house sitting?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's massive. It's bigger than Buckingham Palace, this place, right?
So what is it, a billionaire that's gone away or something?
I think it's some sort of, I think he said something about a viscount or something, right? He said he owns this place. He's living in America. This place he owns, but it's falling to bits.
Wow.
And he's worried that people are going to go in there and squat and what have you. So he said to me, mate, you know, there was an advert in the paper, he doesn't know him, advert in the paper saying, do you want to live in a big house, 100 quid or whatever? And he went and had a look, right? And he's living in there now, he pays £100 a month. There's about 80 rooms.
Gee.
And it's this big stately house and what have you. And I went down there, he said, oh, come down and have a look, right? And from outside you go, oh, this is brilliant, it's like something out of, you know, like the Man of Born or something. You go, this is impressive. But then when you get in, it's like, it's a wreck.
It's just falling apart because they can't afford...
Well, it's just been left. No one's doing any vacuuming up or anything. There's like rat poison everywhere. Like windows are smashed, doors kicked in.
That's a real shame. Why is it? Is it?
I don't think he's doing his job, is he?
Is it because it would cost like millions to do up or
well,
something?
Apparently it'd be like I think they're going to have it done up, but it's going to cost like 80 million, right? So anyway,
it's a big house.
It's a big house.
So we go to the pub and what have you. I've got like a little torch, and we're wandering around looking in all these different rooms, right? And I'm asking him how's it got in this state? Do you know what I mean? If someone's had it, why have they let it get to this state? And he was saying how, you know, it was like a mental home at one point, and it was like a drug thing as well. People who had problems with drugs, they popped them out there because it's in the middle of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? If you needed drugs or anything, forget it. It's not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? So that's straight away. Do you know, like, have you ever been in a hospital when it's been shut down, or a school when there's no kids in it, and there's that sort of bad atmosphere of like weirdness?
Yeah.
Right?
For the sake of argument, yeah.
So we're wandering about, and I say, oh yeah, what's in this room, right? And we go in, and all the floors are like a wreck and rotten and stuff. And I looked at the wall, and there was like a little piece of paper stuck on the wall, right? And I said, what's this here? So I wandered over, right? Got right up close to it, and somebody had roted.
Somebody had roted?
Oh.
Somebody had roted.
Imagine doing Jack and Ori. Okay. Right, go on,
so there's a little sign there, right? And I go up to it, and it says flies, right? With an arrow. Flies this way, right? So I think that's a bit weird. So I follow the arrow, right? Which goes to this corner where there's a shelf. About 3,000 dead flies on it.
Oh my god.
Condom stuck on the top. That's weird, isn't it?
That is weird.
That is weird, right? So I'm looking at that, and there's loads of stuff on the floor and that, bits of paper. Picked up this bit of paper, right? And it had, like in biro and that, it looked really old, like it'd been there years. And it had something like, need nappies, dummy, right? Blankets, like all this, like all stuff for, like, and I turned it over, right? And it said, none of this now needed, baby dead.
Right.
Now that's weird, isn't it? Now that's what I'm talking about when you get a bad vibe. You go, that's who's been in here.
So I don't actually understand what point you're trying to make, Carl.
Just because who's written that? Who's been in that room? Who's been in that state? And then straight away your mind starts going, oh, I'm getting bad vibes in here.
But Carl, didn't you just tell us that this was once occupied by drug addicts and mentals, to use your word?
Yeah.
So haven't you put two and two together and thought that was probably who wrote it? That doesn't mean it's paranormal or ghostly. You walk into a building, it's a big, terrifying, empty house. It's terrifying in as much as it's cold and dark and drafty and a little bit spooky in this sort of illustrative sense.
And insecure.
Yeah, you're a bit nervous because you know, it's got this sort of, it's got its bad vibe. It's just based on the fact that
your mate's in charge.
yeah, that's terrifying. I mean, yeah, so it's like saying, are we scared of the dark? Yes, I understand why people are scared of the dark. I'm a little bit scared of the dark. You're walking along.
Because you don't know what's in it.
Yeah, you don't know what's in the darkness. That's why people get nervous. It doesn't mean you have to make the leap then that you've got some paranormal sense. Oh my god, I'm Karl Pilkington, and hang on, just like Derek Acora, I have sensed something strange and evil in this room. Wait a minute, there's some flies in a condom. I was right all along.
That is weird.
Flies in a Johnny equals badness.
The flies in the condom was weird.
It's weird, I don't know,
but the note.
Yeah.
I just think of his face when he saw that, reading it by torchlight. He must have been terrified.
Again, I broke the rules in the week. I met up with Karl. I had lunch with him. And, we were chatting, and having a cup of tea. And it got onto one of Karl's favourite programmes, was the Tales of the Unexpected.
Ah, of course.
And all I can think is that he's probably the only person in Britain where they were unexpected. I mean, to him, when that twist came in, he'd go, gee, I can't...
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Can't believe
So
it.
it was the tree that did it. I mean, he was probably the only... And we were telling all these stories of horror, and he liked horror stories. And I told him this story. And I don't know if this had come across the radio, but I told him this story. It was a short. It was a horror short.
This was a film you saw, was it?
Yeah, yeah. And, what it was, it started off, just there'd been a car crash. You see, it's a horrendous wreck. And you saw it from the point of view of the person in the car. And he was calling for his mate, and he was going, Dave. And he sort of looked over and saw a body without a head that had been thrown at. He goes, oh no, Dave, Dave. And then into the field of view came Dave, his mate, and looked at him with a look of horror. And then it sort of went black, and you realised that he was just a head, and it had been his body.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And I said, then it came up at the end, at the, executions in the French Revolution, people experience consciousness for, you know, and he went, oh, no, he said, it wouldn't be for that long. And then he went, if it was a chicken, it would work. Imagine remaking that film, but it's two chickens in horrendous car crash.
Their own fault for driving.
It would work. No, he wasn't having that.
Yeah.
No, it was too long. I think he said, how long was this film? Went, oh no, 5 minutes. He went, no. It would work if it was a chicken.
I like the way that Karl, in something like, when you relate an incident like that, he's appalled and offended and annoyed by the people that made it, even though he's never seen it.
Oh, he's annoyed, yeah. Like, you haven't...
I want to see it. I think it's a good idea,
Yeah.
but they should have thought it through a bit more.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a favourite, Tales of the Unexpected, one that you remember particularly that shook you up?
Yeah, we were talking about the one on, where, there's some woman in prison. Have you seen that one?
No, I can't remember them all.
Right? This woman's in prison.
Yeah.
And, she gets a bit friendly with the guy who takes the dead bodies out.
Right.
And, he said, I can get you out of here. He said, what you've got to do, right? You've got to, I don't know, at midnight.
When you hear the bell toll,
Yeah,
that means there's been a dead body,
yeah, there's been a dead body. So what you got to do is go into, like, the, place where all the dead bodies are. Get in the first coffin on the right. And then I'll come along and carry you out, and you can run away and escape.
Yeah.
Right? So she goes, yeah, alright then. So she hears the bell go.
I'll bury you, right? And then I'll come back later and dig you up.
Right.
Yeah, but
That's the
that
point.
bit doesn't matter.
It does matter. Trust me, Karl, it
Alright,
really
okay.
matters.
Listen, I don't know if I'm going to ruin this for people at home.
Yeah.
Can I just skip to the end? I would imagine that she gets buried and he doesn't come back, and she has to get buried alive.
Better than
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, she does it. She gets into the coffin.
Yeah, shh.
Go on.
Right? So she gets in the coffin, and she's lying there for ages.
She's
and so She
buried.
can feel a bit of movement going on, so she's obviously, you know, being carried somewhere, so she's thinking, this is it, I'm getting out. And, she's lying there for ages and thinking, why ain't someone coming and lifting the lid off this? Do you know what I mean? Letting me get out. So she's really bored. She gets a lighter out, right? Lights it to have a look at who she's lying on. It's only the fella who said he'd help escape.
Oh.
How bad is that?
That is... How bad is that?
So it is quite important that she's buried alive then, isn't it? In retrospect, you realise that the jeopardy is that she is buried alive and can't get out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes it so much worse, doesn't it, than just like lying in the morgue and going, actually, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
This isn't gonna work.
Look at Karl's face, having told that, he's so pleased. His face is lit up, he's beaming like a child.
Is
Have you seen any?
that your favourite horror thing ever?
That's a good one. And,
Let's see if anyone knows what the finger is. When that bloke was
Oh,
under the
yeah.
ground, wiggling his finger.
We're talking about one with some fella who's stuck in the ground or something.
This is a motif I noticed in your particular favourite ones.
Yeah.
Right?
People stuck in the ground. Go
Yeah,
on.
right. So it's
a fella, is it?
Yeah, a fella stuck. Now, I seem to remember it just being his foot, to be honest, being stuck in a hole. And
No,
people-
he was under the ground and he got a little thing out of the pavement and he put his finger up and wiggled it to try and attract attention. Then you see a woman come along and her stiletto heel just knocks his finger off.
You see, I'm wondering whether it's the same one as I saw.
Yeah, it could be two like that, couldn't there? It's a.
They were running out of ideas by the last series.
It's a big theme in Hollywood.
Or, what was that one you told me about with the porn? That was a good one.
Oh, this was fantastic, right? Right. There was this.
Sorry, can I just check now? We're just remembering classic episodes of the Tales of
No,
the
this is important. Well, I saw one, right? I saw one on Tales of the Inspector, right? And it was these two gents. What they used to do, they look down the obituaries and they'd blackmail the wife or the son of a dead eminent person, like might be a priest or a doctor, or something like that, and they'd go and they'd say he bought some erotic stuff from us before he died, and he owes 100 guineas and all this sort of stuff, and they'd pay up because it'd be so embarrassing. They just didn't want them to say just pay him, right? And this one bloke said, who are these people? I'll meet with them. And he goes round there, and he goes round, and they go, your father, he goes, my father could not have bought any erotic material from you. They did it, he goes, he couldn't have, he's blind. Right, and that was the twist. And Karl went, so it was magazines, not videos then.
Yeah. Now think about it, Steve. Is that so stupid?
Well, presumably it was set in olden times because
Yeah.
people, professional
right.
pornographers don't tend to call it, you know, erotic material.
Yeah.
They tend to call it, you know, juicy jugs or whatever. But more than that, I don't understand how a video is going to be any use to a blind person either. I know that you can hear the sound,
Yeah.
Karl. Look at him nodding like
Yeah.
he's caught me out.
Yeah, what sound will you hear? Do 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 do. Your meter needs looking at? Yes. Cut. What's then? What's that? Then it's just noises, isn't it?
Occasional groans.
Yeah.
Right.
You could
Okay.
listen through the wall at your neighbours.
He does.
I mean, that's why I save a lot of money. But I thought you were going to point out, Karl, that they could have had a Braille porno. Now, have
Yeah.
you thought of that?
Look, feel the lumps on that.
Exactly. Think about it, Karl.
Think about it.
You're excited now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your girlfriend's away, Karl.
Yeah, the cheese grate is only under the cupboard.
No, she's a good-looking lady.
Yeah.
Now, Steve.
Yes.
Karl text messaged me in the week, very excited, because he just watched a programme that proved me and you were stupid. Remember we sort of championed the anti-supernatural?
Yes.
We-
Skeptical view.
We're just absolutely skeptical about things like that. We're atheists. We don't believe in ghosts, anything like that. Anything supernatural. We're followers of James Randi, a genius of our times. But Karl saw something that proved us wrong. I'd like Karl to tell you what this proof was, what he saw on, and look at him. Go on then.
It was on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
I was watching. You see, the problem is I didn't get the full story, so you could pick holes out of it.
Sure.
But I was
Unlike your usual investigations into the supernatural.
Which are
It was
thorough.
called. Can I just say what the programme was called?
Mr. Exorcist.
Oh, brilliant.
So
Sounds like an academic work to me.
the bit that I caught, I just flicked it over, sort of seeing what's on the telly, and I thought, oh, Exorcist, I've seen it, but there's nothing else, and I watch it, and then I realised it wasn't the same thing. I thought, oh, I'll have a bit of this. And there was an old woman and a daughter, and as far as I was aware, the bit I picked up on, they were saying, oh, you know, it's dreadful, and unless you've been through it, you know, you've had ghosts in your house and that, you really don't know what it's like.
Yeah, sure.
And the main thing that seemed to be getting them down was the fact that the budgie was getting stressed.
The budgie was getting stressed.
Because animals can sense the other side,
Oh,
can't
okay. Can they?
they? Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And how was that manifesting itself? You don't know. What was the budgie doing?
I think it just wasn't happy.
Right. Did it explain that to people, or
No,
how
do you
did
know,
it express that?
budgies are known for being chirpy, aren't they?
I said it
And
wasn't chirping.
you know, it normally swings on its little perched and that. And
Just depressed because it was possessed.
It was just sat around in its pyjamas.
so
No. Come on,
So
Steve.
the-
Come on, Steve. You're making this a mockery. So the budgie was depressed because he could sense the ghost.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then this guy, this Mr. Exorcist, came round.
Was that his name?
Yeah,
Was he a priest or something?
yeah, he might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I picked
Did he?
up
Did he
at
have
the
a?
end.
Did he have like a black coat with a little white collar? That's usually the.
He had his coat on, so you couldn't tell.
No, sure. Okay.
But so he came round and he sort of did his thing, and then
And was he
the
trying?
next shot,
Was he trying to exorcise the budgie?
No, the ghost.
house.
Right.
The
so
house,
it
yeah,
wasn't
it
that the budgie had a
was
demon or
clearing the
anything.
house
No.
out.
Okay.
No, this
So-
wasn't a possession, was it? This was a straightforward. It wasn't a poltergeist or anything. It was just a.
It was a haunted house.
Yeah, but
Sure.
that's the thing he was saying. He was saying you can have like your ghouls and that aren't that bad, that aren't going to cause you any problems.
Yeah,
But obviously the budgie, they've got weak hearts and that, haven't they? and
Sure.
As
So
a-
so he go on. So
so anyway, basically he sorted it out, did whatever he did, and the next shot you see is like the budgie making a noise and swinging
It's
about.
happy
It's
again.
over the moon again, and the old woman was like happy because she was
she couldn't
getting
leave it
stressed.
up. Yeah.
And that's
The
it.
priest didn't come in and go, well, you should feed that bird. Give it a bit of millet. It was happy. It goes, right.
No,
See you
it's-
later. No. It was a
Because
toast.
budgies are. My mum's got a budgie, and they're fairly happy all the time, aren't they? So it's got to be something fairly odd.
You never see a budgie sitting down going, I feel like topping myself, to be honest.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Though?
No.
Do you know you can have like a moody dog? You can see a dog when it's unhappy if it's walking down the street.
You can have a moody canary, can't you? And what they do is they often tell the police what you've been doing. They're known for that. Yeah.
So
basically,
so that for you is proof that the supernatural exists. A bird in a cage got a little bit annoyed, wasn't chirping as much as it normally did. Who knows why? There could have been a little draft up its, and
Cloaca.
exactly.
That's a
Anyway,
medical term.
Anyway, a man came in and did whatever he did.
Yeah.
and used your friend.
Mr. Exorcist, though, Steve.
Yeah.
This wasn't any bloke off the street. This was Mr. Exorcist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And for you, that's the proof that there's.
just because like if it was a person, you go, oh, they're playing up for the camera.
Yeah,
you know,
a budgie could possibly act like that, Steve.
Yeah, I see what you mean. You're saying a budgie would not be trying to. It wouldn't be trying to become famous. or
No,
trying to get
not
on the telly.
not like Lassie.
No, sure.
It was
sure.
basically a show off.
Yeah, or Champion the Wonder Horse.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think
I've changed my tune, Rick. I don't know about you.
I have, and I think we should play a record.
My mum called me to ask me to look in some of the magazine shops in London for a magazine that she can't find. It's called UFO Data. I said, I ain't heard of it. She said she's seen an advert for it in one of her ghost magazines.
I love the fact that she can't even find the magazine about unidentified flying objects.
Yeah. So we get a clue
She
there.
thinks, I think I saw something, but I don't know whether it was a magazine or not.
So we get a clue there as to why you give any credence to this crap.
Yeah, well, it's I mean,
Mama Pilkington's into the same shit.
there's a lot of space out there, isn't there?
She said that this magazine has got news story about how Aldrin (brackets astronaut) has got some evidence that aliens exist.
Yeah.
I told her that I found out today that the days are about 36 minutes longer on Mars. We chatted about how this is how they are more advanced than us. Do you mean the Martians?
Yeah, if they've got a longer day, that's more time that they're awake working on stuff.
Right, yeah, we know that makes no difference at all.
No, it does.
Think about it. Think
Yeah.
about it.
Look, think about it. 6 o'clock here.
Yeah.
People are going, see you tomorrow. I'm going home. They'll be going, oh, another half hour. They've got a longer day. Productive.
And that's why they're able to fly.
That's why they're whizzing around. It adds up, doesn't it, over the years?
Christ almighty, what drivel!
Suzanne got in from work at 11:30. I told her about the UFOs in Mars. She said she's too tired to chat. I said, does it mean aliens will be more tired than us, or do they get more sleep? I got no answer. I love it when
It
Suzanne
scares
does
her.
it. She never indulges
No,
it.
it
does she?
scares her. Anything with ghosts and UFOs, she sort of...
It doesn't
ignores
scare her,
does
it bores
scare
her.
No, it freaks her out. Scares her.
Okay.